So we've been sitting for a little bit, so let's come up and stand next to our chairs. We're going to move around a little bit before we come back to our chairs and do some seated yoga. So let's stand facing the seat of our chair. Stand in our mountain pose or our Tadasana. So feet are about hip width apart. And roll the shoulders back and down. Engage that core, so we want to pull our abdomen in. We want to have a nice active body here. So even though we're just standing in our mountain pose, we want to be really aware and have a nice foundation. So plant all four corners of your feet into the mat. Spread out those toes. We have nice active quads, active shoulders, active arms. And let's just start by taking 3 of our yogic breaths. For those of you who aren't familiar with a yogic breath, we first start by expanding the belly, then the lungs, and then the chest with our inhale. And then we release that oxygen first from the chest, then the lungs, and then the belly. So you can kind of think about it as pouring water into a pitcher and then pouring the water out of the pitcher. So let's gently close our eyes and take 3 of those deep yogic breaths. One more. Let's take a moment to check in with our body, see how we're feeling. Just notice what areas of the body we're holding tension. Let's take a deep inhale again. And then on our exhale, let's audibly sigh, releasing those areas of tension. Do that one more time. Inhaling. And sighing away those areas of tension with our exhale. Very nice. Let's check in with our minds. Just take note of our mental state. How we're feeling emotionally, and just view it without judgment, just accepting wherever we're at in this moment. And then let's start by taking a few neck rolls. I'm just going to face you so you can see me a little bit better. Let's first start by taking that head, gently dropping it down towards the right shoulder, stretching out that left side of the neck. Bringing the chin down towards the chest, and then over to the left shoulder, stretching out the right side of the neck. Let's rotate these neck circles with our own breath, closing your eyes if you'd like to, or leaving them open, whichever is comfortable for you. Couple more times. And then bringing your head back up to a neutral position. Let's take our hands, place them on the seat of our chair. If this is uncomfortable for your wrists, you can always make fists with your wrist, which will alleviate some pressure on your wrists. Having your hands flat on the seat of your chair takes quite a bit of wrist flexibility. So take off my shirt so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. We want to be lifted up out of our shoulder joints. Sometimes the tendency is for us to sink into them. In this position, we want to lift up out of them. We're engaging our core, so our abdomen is pulled up and in. And our feet are about hip width apart. We're going to start by doing some cat and cow stretches at our chair. So we're going to inhale, bring that belly down towards the mat, tilt the tailbone up towards the ceiling as the head comes up towards the ceiling as well. And then exhale, initiate the movement with that tailbone, tucking the tailbone and the chin towards your chest, really pushing up through those shoulder joints. Inhaling into cow. Exhaling into cat. So we'll move through these two postures with our breath at our own pace. Warming up our hips and our shoulders, stretching out our spine and our abdomen. These are great to do after you've been sitting at a desk or in a chair for a while, or after driving. Really loosens up a lot of the muscles in your body. Maybe you want to close your eyes and try to make this a moving meditation. Couple more times. And then coming back to that neutral spinal position. Great. Place both hands on our thighs, gently bend our knees, and come back up to a standing position. Now we're going to do pyramid pose at the chair. So let's bring our right foot forward, left foot back. They're about 2 feet apart from each other, and we have a nice scissored stance. So they're just a couple inches apart. We want to square our hips to the seat of the chair, so both those hips are facing the seat. We'll roll our shoulders back and down, lengthen through the crown of the head, so really grow nice and tall, stacking that spine. We're going to inhale, and then as we exhale, we're going to hinge from the hips, so that movement comes from our hip joints, and hinge forward over the seat of the chair, bringing our hands or our fists to the seat. Being mindful of those hips, the tendency is for them to want to open up. You want to keep them nice and square. Feeling free to stay here, keeping that core engaged, lifting up through those shoulder joints. Or if you're feeling like you could use a little deeper stretch, bringing your forearms down to the chair and surrendering into the posture. Breathe in here. And then if you have your forearms coming back up, we're going to turn that left foot so the toes are facing the long side of the mat. You should be able to look down. Our right heel should be able to intersect the inside middle part of our left foot. We're going to open up. So peel open those shoulders, stack those hips, and bring your left arm up towards the ceiling into our triangle pose at the chair. Feel a nice stretch along the left side of the body. We're pulling up, lifting up through that right shoulder. Again, the tendency is for us to sink. We want to lift up out of it. You can turn your head to look up towards the ceiling if that's comfortable. If not, you can turn that head so it looks down towards the seat of the chair, or just keep your head very neutral facing forward, whatever is most comfortable. No one is here taking pictures for yoga journal, so just listening to your body and doing whatever is most comfortable. And bringing that left hand back down, bending that right knee, coming back up to a standing position, and now we'll do the other side. So now bringing that left foot forward, right foot back to the left toes, facing the seat of the chair. Well, they're both facing the seat of the chair, but your left toes are the closest to the seat of the chair. We're squaring our hips, engaging our core, rolling our shoulders back and down, growing nice and tall through the crown of our head, stacking that spine, inhaling, exhaling, hinging from the hips, coming over towards our chair, either placing the palms on the chair or our fists. Feeling free to stay here, lifting up through those shoulder joints, squaring those hips by bringing that right hip forward, sending that left hip back. Again, that tendency will be for the hips to want to open up, but we want to keep them nice and closed, both hips facing the seat of the chair. If you feel like you could use a little deeper of a stretch, let's bring our forearms down to the chair and surrender into the posture. Breathing. And then let's push ourselves back up. If we're on our forearms, let's turn our right toes so they're facing the long side of our mat. Our left heel should be able to intersect the middle point of the inside of our right foot. We're going to lift up that right arm up towards the ceiling. Peel open those shoulders, stack those hips. Lift up out of that right shoulder, coming into our triangle. Picking your head position that's most comfortable. You can look down at the seat of the chair, forward, keeping your head in a very neutral position, or you can look up at your fingertips. Breathing here. And let's bend that left knee, bring that right arm down, and come back up to a standing position. So now we're going to actually come and sit back down into our chairs and do some yoga postures in our chair. So you'll just want to come to a nice comfortable seated position. You want to be sitting in your chair so your feet are flat on the floor. So you may have to scoot forward. You want your bottom completely on your chair. You want your knees stacked over your ankles and your feet about hip width apart. Rolling your shoulders back and down, sitting up nice and tall, elongating through that spine, reaching up through the crown of the head. We're going to start by taking our left hand, placing it behind us. Taking our right hand, placing it on the outside of our left knee. We're going to inhale, lengthen through that spine again. Exhale, twist from the midline, from your waist, over towards the left. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. And so now our hand is on the outside of that thigh, but we're not using it to twerk ourselves or to really force the twist at all. It's really just there as a guide and to help hold us into the posture. By forcing ourselves into twists, we can sometimes cause more harm than good, oftentimes causing some strain in our SI joint, in our low back, which can cause quite a bit of discomfort. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, use our core, use the power in our abdomen to twist. Twists are really great for detoxifying the body, for improving digestion, and when done correctly, for alleviating back pain. Untwist ourselves and we'll do the other side. So let's take our right hand, place it behind us. Take our left hand and place it on the outside of our right knee. Let's inhale, lengthen, reach up through the crown of the head. Exhale, use the power in our core to twist ourselves to the right. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Check in with our knees. They should still both be even. Sometimes the tendency is for our left knee to want to come forward. Breathing. And then let's untwist ourselves. Very nice. Let's take our left leg and bring that left ankle so it's on top of our right thigh. So we sort of look like we are crossing our legs. You want to flex that left foot. You want to inhale, really lengthen through that spine. You'll hear me say this a lot. Lengthen through that spine. Create nice space between your vertebrae. And we're going to exhale, hinging from the hip, so initiating that movement from our hip joints. We're going to hinge forward, so our chest comes towards our shin bone, towards our calf. And so you should feel a nice stretch in your hip, in that left hip, left glute area. Keeping a nice flat back, avoiding the tendency to want to crouch over. We want to keep a nice flat spine. Breathing. And then release up out of that, and we'll do the other side. So now take your right ankle, place it on your left leg. Like we're crossing our legs on this side. Flex that right foot. Inhale, lengthen, create nice space between your vertebrae. Exhale, hinge from your hips. Bring your chest towards your shin. Keeping a nice flat back, feeling a nice stretch in that right hip flexor, right glute area. And you'll notice a difference on one side than the other, probably with this hip stretch. Hips are very different on one side than the other, as well as our balance. We tend to be stronger on one side balancing than the other. It's usually our dominant side. So if you're right-handed, you'll notice that you're probably better at balancing on your right side, and then vice versa. If you're left-handed, your left side. Breathing. And then come back up and release that side. And so I have saved my favorite chair yoga exercise for last. It's a really great shoulder opener. It's really great for relieving tension between the shoulders that we so often get for those of us who sit at a desk, type a lot, for those of us who have really long commutes. And as well as those of us who maybe are carrying around babes a lot during the day. So a lot of us have shoulder tension for a variety of reasons, and this exercise is great for alleviating that tension. So let's bring our arms out in front of us. Palms are facing each other. We're going to bring our right elbow on top of our left. So right elbow on top of the left. Then we're going to bend both elbows. Now we're going to bring our right forearm in front of our left forearm. So right forearm in front of left. Trying to get our palms to touch. Now, maybe your left hand is touching your right forearm. That's okay, but we're trying to get those palms to touch. Now we're going to inhale. Extend those elbows out away from our chest. Exhale, lift the elbows up. So you should feel a nice stretch in between the shoulder blades. These are called eagle arms for those of you who are familiar with yoga. Really great tension buster here. Breathing, inhaling and exhaling, and then unravel those arms. So maybe do a few shoulder rolls back, a few forward. Good. Now we'll do the other side. So bring those arms out in front of us again. Palms are facing each other. Now your left elbow is going to come on top of your right. So left elbow on top of right elbow. Bend both elbows. Now your left forearm is going to come in front of that, the right forearm. So left forearm in front of right. Try and get those palms to touch. If they don't, that's okay. We're going to inhale, extend those elbows out. Exhale, extend them up. Feeling a nice stretch in between our shoulder blades. Breathing. And then releasing those arms, rolling them back a few times, forward a few times. Great, let's get up one more time. We're going to do one more stretch before we get back into our chair and finish out our webinar. So let's come to a wall. And we're going to face our wall. And we want to place the palms up against the wall, and we want the palms to be about hip width. And we want them to be also about hip height. We're going to step back, bring the feet about hip width apart, and bring our head down so it's in between our shoulders. So this is a downward facing dog at the wall. Let me tie my shirt here so you can see. And we want to be pushing out away from the wall without scrunching up our shoulders towards our ears. So the shoulders are away from our ears, but we're pushing ourselves out away from the wall. Feeling nice length in that spine, engaging the core, nice flat back, avoiding the tendency to do one of these. Breathe Really pushing away from the wall. Being mindful to avoid scrunching up the shoulders, but we want to roll them back and down. And let's walk ourselves back up to the wall. Come to our mountain pose. Inhale, arms up towards the sky. Bring your palms to touch. Exhale, trace your hands down our midline. Bringing your hands to heart center and just gently close your eyes for a moment. Let's take a moment to check in with our bodies and see how we feel now after we've done a little bit of movement, a little bit of yoga, stretched out the body a bit. Just notice how we're feeling. Check in with those areas of tension we had at the beginning. And then let's check in with ourselves mentally and emotionally. Are we feeling any different? Are we feeling a bit calmer, a bit more peaceful? A bit more centered? And then let's take a moment to imagine 3 things we are grateful for in our lives. It could be any 3 things at all. Let's take a moment to give gratitude for those 3 things in our life today. And gently open our eyes, bring our palms down to our hips, and we can come back down to our chair and we'll resume our webinar. Thank you.